Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to the very first episode of Black Ops Cold War In Depth. In today's episode, I want to take a closer look at range and bullet velocity, more specifically how these apply to attachments, because Treyarch made some unusual choices in regards to base balance, and they also made some unusual choices in regards to how the attachments change your weapon stats. I thought that this would be a good first topic because it's very easy to overlook some of these things and accidentally make your classes really bad, and I want you guys to be able to make the best classes possible as early as possible, so let's get started. The first bit of good news is that the range boosting attachments do exactly what the advanced stats tell you they do. If it says 15%, it's 15% more range. If it says 80% more range, it's 80% more range, and that's good, but I feel that they're a little bit oddly written, more specifically when it comes to percentages over 100 for a few of the weapons. It's pretty obvious when it says plus 50%, you know in your head that's 1.5x range, but plus 150% is 2.5x range. Percentages over 100 get a little bit counterintuitive to look at, especially when Treyarch is using the base range plus base range times a bonus formula to get the range with all of those attachments. It's a little bit goofy to think about, and I almost kind of didn't believe it. I thought it was going to be written down funny because some of these bonuses would end up being so big, but let's take a look at an example of this. For this example, I'm playing in hardcore mode with the base XM4 with no attachments. It will get a one-shot kill out to 46 meters. As you see at 47, it didn't. Delta change is going to stem, and at 46 meters, it gets a one-shot kill in hardcore. Now, what I'm going to do is swap over to the class that has plus 150% range for the barrel, and I'm going to get a one-shot kill at 114 meters, which is just absurdly long range. It's so far away, I could barely see them, which is why I had to run the optical attachments, because there was no other way for me to even consistently hit my enemies. What this means for you is that the barrels on the assault rifles that say plus anywhere between 120 to some 150 or 60% range give you ridiculous range boosts that make your weapons deal their maximum damage across pretty much the entire map. At no point will you ever have less shots to kill because your damage range is the entire map. That's kind of why I thought there was an error or that something was wrong or something wasn't supposed to be balanced this way, because that's outrageous. That is, I'm just kind of shocked at how powerful some of the barrels are on these assault rifles. Now, SMGs and LMGs are a little bit toned down. SMGs don't have quite that same kind of boost, but I just wanted to give you an example of how powerful range boosting can be. In Depth does not have a sponsor this year, but I can give myself a quick shout out. If you want to, you can use creator code DRIFTOR in the store to support me, with the O being a 0. That does make this content sponsored by Activision, since it's more of an affiliate sales arrangement. But if you want to support me, that's an easy way to do it. And if you want to come hang out on Twitch, most of In Depth will be live streamed this year on twitch.tv/drifter, which is linked down there below. And let's move on to our second topic today, which is bullet velocity. Exclusive Ace tested this one first, and he had some really big finds on bullet velocity. Basically, bullet velocity is more important in Black Ops Cold War than any other Call of Duty game ever, because a lot of the base velocities are quite low. So low, in fact, that your slow bullet speed will make it feel like it's bad hit detection because your shots are taking so long to hit. And I want to say that again for emphasis, the bullet velocity is so slow that you will think that you are getting ghost bullets or hit reg errors or something like that because of how long it takes for your submachine gun and pistol rounds to actually hit the enemy. And I tested it. We're going to take a look. It is exactly that bad. And of note, the actual bullet drop on a lot of the weapons is pretty noticeable too. For most of Modern Warfare and even Black Ops 4, the bullet drop wasn't really an issue. It's kind of a big deal here. So let's take a look at some examples with the MP5, XM4, and then the M82 sniper rifle, which is going to be surprising. Example number 1 is the regular MP5 with only the scope attachment, and I want you to listen for how long it takes for the bullet to hit at this range. And now let's try again, but with plus extra muzzle velocity. Noticeably different. We can repeat the exact same thing with the XM4. And now the XM4 with extra velocity. And now with a suppressor. And just for good measure, let's take a look at the M82 sniper rifle with the exact same test. As you can see, those are some extremely big differences. Basically what happened is that Treyarch decided to make SMG bullet velocity really slow this year. I assume as a balancing lever to make the assault rifles more competitive, since the SMGs were very powerful in alpha and beta, but it makes them feel kind of wonky and inconsistent since it seems like your shots aren't hitting very well. And not all of the assault rifles are crazy fast either. The assault rifles are generally better, but sometimes they can be quite slow. Those barrels that boost velocity are super important for SMGs and pistols. You might could get by without them on assault rifles, but for SMGs and pistols, they can make a night and day difference in your gameplay and your overall consistency and how many of your shots actually connect with enemies. Adding a suppressor will noticeably lower that bullet velocity, and it's going to feel like bad hit detection, which is why I think it's a confusing thing to balance around, because the end result is I'm not thinking that my bullets are slow, I'm just kind of thinking that I'm losing frames or that I'm lagging or something like that. In Black Ops Cold War, it's more important to keep your bullet velocity high than it is to boost your effective range. In every Call of Duty game that's had range and velocity, the velocity was largely ignorable up until recently with Warzone, but now it's the exact opposite. You could probably not pay a whole lot of attention to the effective range and just focus a lot on bullet velocity, and I think that will help your gameplay a ton. Of note, high bullet velocity and the right attachments can basically turn any sniper rifle into a hit scan machine. So if you're running suppressor, it's a pretty major penalty because you're gonna have to lead your shots and there'll be a big delay. However, if you're going, loud and proud and long range, you're going to be hit scanning people into the ground, which is what most people are already doing with the sniper rifles. When it comes to how to build your classes around this, as of right now, only your barrels can increase velocity or range, and your muzzle attachments can only lower them, that just being the suppressor. So there's all sorts of velocity and range choices for your barrels. There aren't really much velocity or range choices in your muzzle attachments, none actually, except for the suppressor, which can lower that velocity. It's going to be kind of hard to build a best of both worlds kind of class. It's going to be difficult to build a class that has really great muzzle velocity and is suppressed and has good range. You're going to have to make some sacrifices somewhere, though most weapons do have a barrel that gives a decent boost to both stats. Pretty much every weapon in every class has a barrel that'll give you like 50% extra muzzle velocity and about 50% extra range, which are great, and it's especially great that you get them together, but it's not great enough to kind of beat out the suppressor penalties or the overall fact that the muzzle velocities are low. Another fun fact here at the end of the episode is that the very last set of barrels promises to increase damage by plus some small percentage, and that is real, and it does work. The barrels will somehow increase the damage on your guns, but it increases them so barely that I haven't seen one yet that changes your shots to kill. Maybe 4 headshots, and maybe it'll change your super long range engagements, like your minimum damage range engagements, because you get a damage boost there. But to the best of my knowledge, this isn't really going to affect your shots to kill. It's almost more of a range modifier than anything, because it changes the overall shape of the damage curve. However, when Warzone comes out, these barrels may be a lot more popular, given the fact that the health pool is going to be different, and those small numbers can make a big difference. Guys, that is all for today's in-depth episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.